The bankruptcies are very high.
Yes.
The truck drivers are on the road asking their wages. And is the enforcement missing from this industry?
We need justice! We need justice!
More and more people getting into trucking who don't have the intent of actually following the laws to either change or leave the industry.
Who is responsible for all this mess?
I think we all need to look in the mirror. Who don't go into the business trying to get it right. They're actually building a business model around getting around the rules that add costs.
The fine amount is so less, so minimum, that these defaulters, they feel that paying that fine is okay.
I don't care. I am going to park my truck wherever. I know what the fine is. It does not matter if I break the law. I'll pay the fine.
Is trucking in crisis?
Oh, definitely there's a crisis right now. We need to put forward proposals to deal with it and implement them.
Ontario government should bring the legislation because they are the one who can bring the fine rate higher.
But the reality is, it can no longer be the cost of doing business.
The ministry said all those 13 recommendations, we will work on it. We will investigate. We will do rest of the enforcement. Where were they for last decade?
Is the governments need to shift their mindset to understand that businesses need stronger oversight.
This happened in the industry.
Happens, it's a business model.
So why don't government fix? Ministries do that.
And you don't just introduce the law, you go harder and faster, protect the rights of those workers, force the owners to go to a legal business model and go in business.
All elected officials living here in Brampton, they see what is going on the streets, but nobody came forward to have a solution.
Respect your labor force.
Yeah.
Respect truck safety. Respect your need to be compliant with tax laws. All the benefits that come with an employee, sick days,
They are
all
not
of it.
getting it.
Nothing.
And
And
they
who
are paying their
benefits? Who benefits by this? Not them. More enforcement officers, the laws are there, tougher fines, and constant enforcement. Not blitzes, every day, Monday to Friday, knocking on doors.
Who will make it difficult?
The government needs to make it more difficult.
Why they have not made it difficult till today?
If you make it easy for organized crime to penetrate your industry, and we've made it easy, it will come. If you make it more difficult, they will have to make decisions about whether they stay in this industry or leave. We are pushing very hard on that. We believe the moment for serious discussions on that will come around CUSMA because a lot of these things will be there. And I can assure you that's job one for us when it comes to CUSMA. Young or old, men and women that are in our industry, stay in our industry because it's a great industry.
But why they at first place allowed visitors to drive a commercial license on a big highway?
That there are too many owners in our industry doing the wrong thing. It's not a small amount. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Oh, it's been manipulated and twisted to the advantage of ownership.
Trucking used to be the backbone of Canadian economy, and still it's the backbone of the Canadian economy. But for last many years, we had seen the turbulence in the trucking industry, and that turbulence hit across Canada, across North America. But are the tariffs only responsible for this, or our internal system collapse is responsible for this turbulence in trucking industry? So many of South Asian and other people, they are dependent on this industry because our transportation is the backbone, and whatever we eat is because of the transportation. And why the organized crime has infiltrated the trucking industry, and why we see the truck drivers on the roads asking their wages, and why there are illegal truck yards in Caledon. So much more, much more. We have Stephen from Ontario Trucking Association to talk on general crisis in trucking industry and the Caledon issues. Stephen, welcome to the show.
Thanks very much for having me.
Stephen, if you start with your introduction and about the OTA.
Sure. OTA is celebrating its 100th year in trucking. We've been the voice of the trucking year for 100 years. Our job primarily is to work with the fleets and represent the owners and their interests both at Queen's Park and in Ottawa. Obviously, a lot has changed since 100 years. When the trucks first came in, it was competing with the horse and buggies. As in your intro, a lot's changed in the last couple of years, and we're seeing it in our industry, both good and bad.
Is trucking in crisis?
Oh, definitely there's a crisis right now. I think you have challenges running a business, you have a safety crisis, you have a number of crises. And I think what the answer is that we're going to need more enforcement of the current rules, and quite frankly, a go-forward path that allows the trucking industry, those who invest in safety, those who invest in their workers, to thrive, and those who don't, to either change or leave the industry.
You had seen the trucking industry since long years here in Canada.
35 years.
35 years. How you see, and which year this downfall started? Because the bankruptcies are very high.
Yes.
The truck drivers are on the road asking their wages. And is the enforcement missing from this industry?
Well, absolutely. I think there's a number of factors. I think you hit it on your intro. We've had economic shifts. We've had downturns from after COVID, pre-COVID. There has been, this industry and the Canadian supply chain have faced numerous changes and numerous crises. What are we facing today? Well, the trucking industry, as I mentioned before, has been very adaptable for 100 years. They're a tough entrepreneurial group. The people, the business people who get involved in trucking and the leadership, they are very entrepreneurial and they can adapt. But what no one can adapt to is unfair competition. And what you're seeing is more and more people getting into trucking who don't have the intent of actually following the laws. They're actually using that lack of following the laws to gain an advantage over the businesses that are. And that's a big problem.
Stephen, who is responsible for all this mess?
Well, I think we all need to look in the mirror, but ultimately we rely on governments to be our referee. They set the regulations, they set the rules, and what they also need to do is enforce them. And so we have a lot of very good rules on the books that just need to be enforced harder.
So means every rule we have in the book, and if we don't have, we can bring the legislation, but enforcement part is missing?
That's exactly right. Enforcement is out there. Let's face it, the government is out there, but it's not in a regime. 20, 30 years ago, you would say to people who got into the business were saying, oh, everyone makes mistakes. And then the law would enforce it and you correct your mistakes. Now what we're facing is a growing ownership group who don't go into the business trying to get it right. They're actually building a business model around getting around the rules that add cost, and that's to their advantage.
You agreed that trucking is in crisis as of today, 2026.
Oh, absolutely. We have a safety crisis, we have a
Yes.
compliance crisis.
Yes. I'll come out to the Caledon issue. There
Okay.
are so many, because Caledon area is bigger than Brampton and Mississauga. It has big yards, it has big farmland, and the people, they misuse that farmland to the truck yards. And then city said we have put fines on them. The fine amount is so less, so minimum, that these defaulters, they feel that paying that fine is okay, but we get 50 acres of land to park our vehicles. So what is the issue there in Caledon?
So what did I say? There are people who get into the business who understand that. So it is very tough for trucking companies these days to pay the lease rates in the GTA, in the Peel region. They're expensive. Land is expensive. It is the cost of your business that you build a business model. So what have some done? Well, they've taken that challenge and downloaded it into a model of saying, I don't care. I am going to park my truck wherever. I know what the fine is. It does not matter if I break the law. I'll pay the fine. It's still cheaper than me being a compliant carrier and leasing from another business. That is a perfect example of what I'm talking about.
I agree with you, because in the cities, Brampton or Mississauga, we had seen on red lights, we see the banners, advertising banners, that make our cities look bad. And when we approached to the city, they said we issue thousands of fines every year. But enforcement, still those placards are there, because anyone want to advertise, it's the best place on the red light. So same thing in the trucking also. They say parks are there, the land is there, we will park, fine, keep giving us the fine. So what is the solution? What should government do? Because when we talked to Mayor of Caledon, she said Ontario government should bring the legislation because they are the one who can bring the fine rate higher so that these defaulters can feel the pain.
Well, Minister Sakaria has promised the industry next month to meet together to deal with the trucking crisis, not just the Auditor General's report with regards to truck driver training, which is another element of and symbolic of what's going on. I believe what needs to happen is that the Caledon Group needs to be there as well with Minister Sakaria, and all of these issues need to be discussed. We need to put forward proposals to deal with it and implement them. But the reality is, it can no longer be the cost of doing business. And so what does that mean? Does that mean that the Ministry of Transportation should get involved? Does it mean that carriers that continually flaunt the law should be threatened with their plates removed and put out of business for not complying with the law? There are multiple options. They all need to be discussed. But I think the overriding theme has to be this.
Since switch year, being a OTA president, you saw that these things are going on in the trucking industry. Which year, like 2009? Or before that or after that?
You know, it would be hard to pick a year.
Approximately.
But approximately over a decade.
Over a decade.
Over a decade of a slow deterioration of the industry.
Because I'm coming to the point now the Auditor General reports came.
Yes.
First question came to our mind. The ministry said all those 13 recommendations, we will work on it. We will investigate. We will do rest of the enforcement. Where were they for last decade? Because you were talking, OTA was talking, we were talking, the community, those who were concerned, they were talking, and why our ministries never took any action? Why they were waiting for the Auditor General report to come, which was already known to the public, to the community, that these things are happening. People are fake driving licenses, fake certificates, fake driving schools. They were driving with the sleepers without work permit. Every visitors were getting a work permit here to drive a commercial license. The road safety issue. Where were they last decade?
So I think that what's happened with all governments, provincial, federal, across Canada, quite frankly, I think you could look at it in the United States as well.
Yes.
Is that governments built regulatory regimes on this, when I entered it, on this thing of trust. We trust the business community, not just trucking, the business community to do the right things. Here are the laws, follow them. And they built a safety regime or an enforcement regime around that model. We trust you, and therefore we will only have so many people or laws that allow enforcement to come because we believe in entrepreneurial spirit. Here's what's happened. That trust amongst a percentage of our industry is no longer there. So the regimes and the regulations that are in place for governments need to adapt. They can no longer built on trust. There has to be hard, strict enforcement. The Auditor General said all schools need to be inspected. Right. 80% of trucking companies are never inspected. That needs to be fixed.
But after the bankruptcies, that is another tool they have. Do a bankruptcy because this company has done so much of wrong. Let's use the tool of consumer insolvency. Let's open another company on my relative name and everything is passed on. This happened in the industry.
Happens? It's a business model.
So why don't government fix? Ministries do that.
And so we are asking the same questions.
You are asking. Okay.
We are saying that the government needs to shift its mindset with regulations, but specifically enforcement. You need stricter oversight.
Do you think that the lobbyists in the other groups are more stronger than the lobbyists on the other side?
No, you know, I think that look, everyone's entitled to their opinion and representing their interests. I think what needs to happen now is the governments need to shift their mindset to understand that businesses need stronger oversight, and once that is made a decision to implement an enforcement regime, we have more than enough rules. Do we need a few more? Perhaps, but for the most part, we have good sound rules. Enforce the law. If you enforce the law, there will be no issues.
Which are the main red flags, if you can tell us
Sure.
in this trucking red flags, because Auditor General report is again a shocking,
Yep.
but we already knew this is happening.
Yes.
For us, it's quite normal. We know what is there. But report
No
came
argument for
official.
me on that one.
Yes. So which are the red flags you see as a OTO that these should be fixed right away?
Number one, you open up all the inspection stations in Ontario 24 hours, 7 days a week.
Okay.
We all know what happens. The trucking companies that aren't following the law, they build plans around it. Start there. Next, 80% of trucking companies are never visited by the Ministry of Transportation.
Yeah.
That needs to stop immediately.
Okay.
We need every year, at least once a year, trucking companies visited, and then risk assessment based on that. Number three, you need to change how the licensing is done. You need to move more to an endorsement based. And the last one, you've mentioned it, all the different rules that are being broken. When you go to an inspection station today, it's only about the driver and the truck from a Ministry of Transportation standpoint. You mentioned a whole bunch of other schemes that involves other agencies within the province and also the federal government. They need to be at the inspection sales as well. 35 years ago, 40 years ago, when you went to an inspection station, they only weighed the truck. Then they started looking at the driver and the safety. Now you need to look at other things.
How you see the driver Inc. model? In the Brampton or Mississauga area, we had seen South Asian employers, basically South Asian truck drivers. Many of them are on a work permit status. Earlier used to be a visitor also, they were allowed to drive commercial trucks. They are on the streets. They are in the residential area asking their wages. They said labor code takes 12 to 14 months just to hear it. And then after that they say we are bankrupt, we don't have a money. So they find this is the right solution. And we have all elected officials living here in Brampton. They see what is going on the streets, but nobody came forward to have a solution. Don't protest on the streets. It's give a bad name to our country, our city. As a OTA president, what you see, why they are protesting on the streets?
So this business model isn't a business model. It's built on ripping off truck drivers and built off of abusing the tax system. I think that the page turned in November of last year.
Yeah.
When the Prime Minister introduced his budget, the Minister of Labor, Minister Haydu, stood up and said, we are going to enforce the law.
Yes.
The laws are there, and they're starting it now. They're also enforcing the law on the tax side. So what needs to happen is exactly what I said earlier about the province.
Yeah.
You don't just introduce the law, you go harder and faster, protect the rights of those workers, force the owners to go to a legal business model and go in business and truck the right way. Respect your labor force.
Yeah.
Respect truck safety. Respect your need to be compliant with tax laws and compete in the marketplace.
So for the driver Inc., should they be an employee or they should be a self-contractor? How should that work?
Well, so the idea, first of all, that OTA strongly is in favor of small business. But small business is defined as, in the trucking industry, from a independent contractor standpoint, is you own the truck.
Yes.
You either make legitimate truck payments, not $50 a week, legitimate truck payments, or you're an employee. You can't be an incorporated driver legally under the Canada Labour Code and go drive somebody else's truck without payment.
Yeah.
You could call yourself an incorporated driver. You are under the tax code.
So do you
but
think-
under the labor code, you're not.
So do you
you're
think-
breaking the law.
Do you think the system has been rotten?
Oh, it's been manipulated and twisted to the advantage of ownership that are using this model and abusing their drivers through it. Period.
Abusing the system is not only in trucking industry. We got so much of complaints from the offices. A reception girl or boy working on a reception 9 to 5, Monday to Friday or Monday to Sunday, they are not on payroll. They are on invoicing when they are using company's equipment. they are full time in the office working 9 to 5, but employer asks them to invoice us so that they can save the vacation space, they can save the employees all the benefits.
Everything.
That is going on
Oh.
basically in South Asian industry.
Nitin, this is going on in the trucking industry.
Yes, same thing going on the other industry.
Well, the whole trucking industry.
Yes.
You know, the whole trucking industry is facing, we call it driver ink.
Yeah.
But the reality is, it's ink everyone, to the receptionists, to the dock workers, everything.
Yes.
And those people are foregoing all their labor rights,
Yes.
their severance pay, their vacation pay,
Yes.
all the benefits that
All the
come
benefits.
with an employee, sick days,
They are
all
not
of it.
getting anything.
Nothing.
And
And
we
who
are paying their
benefits? Who benefits by this? Not them.
Employer.
Correct.
Yes.
And it needs to end.
So is the federal government acting on this?
Yes, and they did starting in November
Mm-hmm.
in the budget. The issuance of the T4As is a very important issue now because here's what's going to happen. If companies in trucking do not issue the T4As, now, if they don't, and the government, the Canada Revenue Agency comes there, now the employer has to answer for not issuing the T4As. There's consequences. When there's hard consequences, people are going to have to make decisions. And let's hope they make the right decisions and become compliant.
And labor courts, what you have to say on the labor courts, on the streets protest, like labor courts should be more effective, labor minister should act and stop these protests on the streets.
So, you know, I'll answer the question this way. I think the federal labor departments, they need more officers.
Yeah.
They need more officers to do their jobs. And if they're given, they have the law, they need tougher fines. Remember we talked about the Callan
Yes.
issue, cost of doing business?
Yeah.
I worry about the cost of doing business even when the fines are issued. And so what do we need? More enforcement officers, the laws are there, tougher fines, and constant enforcement. Not blitzes, every day, Monday to Friday, knocking on doors.
How you see the Auditor General report?
So wasn't surprised. I was actually kind of, the only thing I was surprised about, it wasn't worse. You hit the nail on the head. This has been going on for 10 years. Everyone in the industry know about it. So now what the issue is, we need to act on it. And I do believe Minister Sarkaria is going to act on it, and I'm very hopeful that he's going to act on improving on the truck safety side of it.
Okay. Is trucking industry infiltrated by the organized crime?
Do we have organized crime in trucking? The answer is yes.
Okay. How can you?
And so, you know, I think what you're seeing is more and more busts at the border with regards to drugs. You're hearing from government officials who have concerns about this. And is it surprising based on where we've gone as an industry? No. If we're attracting owners building a business model around breaking labor laws and tax laws and all the rest of it, is it surprising or illogical to think that others would get involved and do other illegal things? No.
So how Americans sees our trucking industry, and because the cross-border trade, they pay very close attention what is going on. And also, many times we heard from the drivers that they are being innocently trapped by the employer because the truck is full of load with the sealed. And when truck driver take the load, he say, I don't know what is inside there, and I am being caught. And many of the cases are in front of us. Yesterday also I got a call. One of the guy, his case is in process that he is asking his employer that you are responsible. They are saying you are responsible. So what's going on? How Americans see us?
So let's talk about the Americans and let's talk about what we can do here in Canada.
Yeah.
The Americans, they have security programs, but it was more around terrorists around 2001. What we're asking the Americans to do in talking to the Americans is to evolve the security around illegal shipments and to make sure that trucking companies and their backgrounds are checked for these types of issues. X-ray machines, more X-ray machines. We saw X-ray machines used at inspection stations here in Ontario.
Yeah.
We want to see them there all the time. We need to send a message to our American partners and to our supply chain that we are not going to accept this. we are not going to make it easy for organized crime to get into our industry. And so the Ontario
But it's not easy, but they are already there in the industry. They are
correct.
Yes.
And so if we make it more difficult for them to stay,
Who will make it difficult?
the government needs to make it more difficult.
Why they have not made it difficult till today?
So, you know,
Is there any lackness on the advocacy from the OTA or the other organizations?
No,
or you
no.
did a lot of advocacy and it's going on deaf ears?
I wonder if I will say this. Once Canada and the United States begin talking about CUSMA and the trucking issues at the border,
Yes.
OTA and the Canadian Trucking Alliance will be very loud about this issue. I can assure you that.
Means after July.
That's what we're hearing, but
Okay.
maybe you got better information than me.
Okay, let's see. Let's hope for the best. If Americans can resolve our trucking issue, then we'll be happy on the border. We should not see that these young boys, they are trapped or they are involved. It should stop. The organized crime should
It
stop.
needs to end.
But organized crime has entered every single field. In the sports, if you saw the cricket, if you saw the trucking, if you see the extortion calls, it's across the industry.
If you make it easy for organized crime to penetrate your industry, and we've made it easy, it will come. If you make it more difficult, they will have to make decisions about whether they stay in this industry or leave.
Is the OTA fighting a hard battle to so that their voice can be reached to the federal or the provincial levels?
We have raised the issue of illegal shipments in the answers to both the province and to the federal government about changing the programs of how carriers and drivers cross the border. So they go through a program to ensure and audited so they are not involved in criminal activity. We are pushing very hard on that. We believe the moment for serious discussions on that will come around CUSMA because a lot of these things will be there. And I can assure you that's job one for us when it comes to CUSMA.
Okay, so what is your message to the across the trucking industry? Because the way you explained the things, many South Asian people, they are watching you because they want this issue to be resolved because that is their livelihood. And they are not getting their wages, they have to come on the streets, they see organized crime entered into the trucking industry, they see every day declining. They said now we don't earn much from the trucking, and what is the fun? It's better to do something else.
Well, that's the saddest thing about it.
Yes.
You have some hardworking people that just want to get ahead in life, and they've picked our industry. And the number one job for OTA is to make sure that they stay in this industry, that they work for companies that are going to pay them the right wages, fair wages. They're going to treat them under the labor code. They're going to have benefits. They're going to have all the things that people should have and compete in a marketplace, in a competitive market. Trucking's tough. Even fair, it's tough. But what we need to do is to make sure that all the young men and women, and young or old men and women that are in our industry, stay in our industry because it's a great industry. What we have to do is get rid of all this cheating, all this illegal activity, and make sure that all the owners and all the employees compete fairly, build a profit, build their business the right way, not like this. All the things you and I talk about today, what I would be really happy in 12 months, it all went away, and we're just talking about trucking and the economy and how our businesses can get more competitive and more entrepreneurial. This is what we need to work towards. Unfortunately, you and I need to spend time on what we just talked about. It's not right. It's not right for the workers. We need to fix this, and the political leadership at the federal, provincial, and municipal level need to align themselves with these messages, work hard, and bring real enforcement, real enforcement.
So you said we need to fix it. I agree that we need to fix this mess because people's livelihood depends on this trucking industry. And do you think that the political will was missing in last decade?
I don't think the will was missing. I think that the inability to understand that they needed to turn up the volume. It's sort of like, like music and a stereo.
But why they at first place allowed visitors to drive a commercial license on a big highways?
So I think we're going to go back to the earlier part. I think there was a trust of our industry that we were all, the most of us, most in the industry were doing the right thing. I think what they are now starting to understand that there are too many owners in our industry doing the wrong thing. It's not a small amount. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It's putting those young men and women who go to work for them at risk. It's robbing their rights. And also, what we didn't talk about today, it's also putting everybody's lives at risk who share the road, including these young men and women that get behind the wheel of these trucks.
Only 3% of commercial trucks are on the roads, and then 12% of accidents that happened was of
That's
road
putting
safety issue.
everybody's families at risk.
Yes.
And quite frankly, those young men and women that are behind those wheels, they shouldn't be there with this training. And a good trucking company would never put them there, ever.
We will invite you again after the CUSMA or after 6 months, and we will ask you the update, because you are hopeful that governments are listening. They listened for 10 years, nothing happened, and hopefully they will listen now, and they will fix this issue either by the province or by the federal, because it's a collective responsibility. And that time we will ask you what are the updates. But before we let you go, what is OTA's message to the trucking industry and to the governments?
I think is what you said. You hit the nail on. We are an important industry. We're here to protect and grow this industry the right way for both the employees and the employers. And when we do that, and when the government supports the compliant industry and respects the rights of all the workers, this will all get fixed. And I guarantee you, we will not stop until it gets fixed.
So best wishes, Stephen, for your
Thank
fight.
you very much, and look forward to 6 months, and hopefully I've got good news.
Thank you. And we request our government and the trucking industry and across the industry that enforcement is missing. Either we have seen the immigration sector, we have seen the corruption and crime in the cricket, we have seen the trucking industry, and we have seen the mess created across the industries, and we don't want to see this mess in Canada at least. We are hardworking people, we love this country, and we want the mess to be cleaned. The bad apples should be punished, whosoever they are. This should not be the question of vote banks. This should be the question of Canada first. And that should be the priority for our governments if they listen to it. Thank you.